Right now at noon, emergency help in Pittsburgh is only a text away.
And we're looking a little less likely for additional wintry precipitation, but there's still a slight chance out there. We'll take a look at the roads and we'll take a look at that forecast coming up.
Deadly winter ice storm is gripping parts of the South.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The Pittsburgh Police Department launches a new technology that allows the community to text 911 instead of calling. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Carrie Worthen. Topping our first 7 minutes, the Pittsburgh Dispatch can now accept text messages. The new texting system allows operators to act just as fast responding to texts and calls. The police department says the system can improve communication with people who have disabilities and victims who do not have the ability to verbally call for help.
We would ask that at the top in the to line, just put 911, no dashes, just 911, and the brief description of the emergency and who you need, fire, ambulance, or police, or all. And keep communications brief and concise and to the point.
Dispatch has already received requests for helping through texting since the update. Now go to Chris in the Weather Center.
Yeah, we're a little bit warmer than what we were at this time yesterday. Taking a live look at the MoDOT camera, 32nd and range line, looking south down range line. Quite a few cars. The roads are looking pretty clear, but you see there are some little wet spots. So here's what's going to happen as we continue to warm up. What we have out there will melt, and that could create slick spots of its own. Now, you can see a little light snow down southwest of Grove in northeastern Oklahoma. That's part of this bigger system. These are ice storm warnings from Tennessee back through Texas, and they are dealing with a very serious situation down there, which we'll be telling you about here in a few moments. So the good news is this is going to look to barely skirt us, which is very good, because I don't know about anybody else. I'm kind of done with the wintry precipitation. Yesterday, we made it to a whopping 24 after starting at 17, well off of the averages here. But the other good news is that's going to start to change. So let's take a quick look at temperatures around the area. We're at freezing in Iola, Fort Scott, 28 in Pittsburgh, Miami, Neosho, and Anderson, 26 in Monette, and we're sitting at 29 in Joplin, Carthage, and Lamar this afternoon. And that's putting us now roughly 5 to 10 degrees above where we were 24 hours ago. So even though it's not super warm, it's definitely better. Heading for a high of 35 under mostly cloudy skies as we go through the rest of the day. We could still see some stray flurries, maybe a little light snow. We'll talk about that impact and about a big warm-up on the way in here in just a few minutes.
Troopers say slick and hazardous conditions led to a semi-crash on Interstate 40 yesterday. It happened near Gore, Oklahoma, about 40 miles west of Fort Smith, Arkansas. The moment was captured on a highway patrol dash cam. No one was injured, but the driver did get a ticket for traveling at a speed not reasonable for proper road conditions. Accidents on slick roads in the South killed at least 2 people yesterday, and tens of thousands are still without power. 38 million Americans from Texas to Virginia are under weather warnings and advisories. Omar Villafranca joins us from the hard-hit Memphis.
Here in Memphis, icy conditions led to a 12-car pileup on Tuesday. Police said 5 drivers were hospitalized, all with non-life-threatening injuries.
People are just taking it for granted that they can just stop and you can't. These roads are slick.
In St. Francis County, Arkansas, a similar scene. Ice sent 3 semi-trucks sliding off the road, slowing traffic on Interstate 40 to a crawl. It was so cold, even some of the transportation department's cameras froze over. There were hundreds of collisions across Texas as well, including a pileup in Austin that left 1 person dead early Tuesday morning. At Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, the winter blast was a factor as more than 60% of flights were canceled, part of the nearly 2,000 cancellations nationwide. The cold forced Dallas resident Andrew Ventura to move some of his belongings into his truck, using it to keep warm and charge his phone after his apartment lost electricity.
Power outages have been pretty bad around here. It started last night and then it lasted throughout the night until about 4 or 5 a.m. Power kicked back on and then went back off a few hours later.
Despite thousands of outages across Texas, Governor Greg Abbott said there's not a threat to the state's power grid.
Local outages are not a reason to say that there is a problem with the power grid. The power grid is functioning just fine as we speak.
Dozens of school districts across the region are closed today because of the weather. In fact, Memphis is under an ice storm warning until at least tomorrow morning. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, Memphis, Tennessee.
In Arkansas, Republican Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders declared a state of emergency because of the icy conditions. Funeral services will be held today for Trey Nichols, the 29-year-old man who died last month, 3 days after he was stopped by police and brutally beaten. Vice President Kamala Harris is among those who expected to attend. Civil rights activist Reverend Al Sharpton will deliver the eulogy. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on the KOAM News at Noon. A new bill could mean the end of working from home for many federal employees. And later, we're making a raspberry strudel muffins in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Millions of Americans have been working from home during the pandemic, but now that COVID restrictions are disappearing, many large employers are calling workers back to the office. Later today, Congress will consider ordering many federal employees to return as well. Scott McFarland reports.
It's a telework Monday, not so bad across the metro area with overall lower travel volumes.
When COVID arrived, a mass migration to telework followed, including for federal workers.
I love it.
Valencia McIntyre Dubose, who for 23 years has processed benefits for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and helped the employee union, says she's never been more efficient now that she's working from home.
Me doing the telework, I get my work done faster and easier.
The number of U.S. government employees telecommuting has more than doubled since 2018. But in a vote later today, the U.S. House, now under Republican control, is pushing a plan to bring most federal workers back as the threat of COVID is receding.
Everybody should come back to the office and do what the American people have to do. Certainly, if you're a federal employee, the standard ought to be higher.
Many private businesses are already pushing workers to get back to the office most of the time, including Starbucks, Goldman Sachs, Disney, and Apple. The Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee argues backlogs at the IRS during tax season and slowdowns in processing Social Security checks and veterans benefits could be reduced if employees got back to the office.
As the rest of America went back to work in person, many federal workers did not, and the American people have suffered as a result.
Also weighing in are Democratic mayors of some major cities, including New York, San Francisco, Houston, and Washington, where telework has squeezed some local businesses and emptied downtown buildings.
America wins when the place where people come to join and change the world is buzzing.
But some Democrats in Congress are pushing back against the current bill.
We cannot enter a time machine and simply disappear the utility of telework in recruiting and retaining new generations of federal workers.
Advocates for the roughly 1 million teleworking federal employees say an end to telework could trigger a wave of retirements, resignations, and further backlogs.
The greatest benefit of telework is that it helps us attract and keep the best people possible to serve the public.
The U.S. House is expected to pass this bill to return telework to pre-pandemic levels along a party line vote today. The U.S. Senate is not likely to take it up at all, which will stall the plan. But House aides tell CBS News they expect to make this part of looming negotiations over keeping the government open later this year. Scott McFarland, CBS News, Bethesda, Maryland.
Still to come on KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
Whether or not Punxsutawney Phil sees his shadow tomorrow, we've got a rise and shine muffin that'll be welcome beyond the shadow of a doubt.
But first, regardless of that shadow, some warmer temperatures are on the way. We'll tell you when they're going to get here when we come back. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. It's absolutely still cold outside. However, it's a bit warmer than what it was, and that is going to continue to be the trend over the next few days. Right now, MoDOT camera looking at 32nd and range line, looking south down range line. It's looking pretty good, but the road is a little bit on the damp side as we're getting some melting going on, and so that could cause some slick spots on the roadways, but we shouldn't see anything too significant. We're looking pretty good for this evening as well. So we're looking a little warmer today, but as I mentioned, it is still quite cold out there. Some wintry precipitation is still possible with the highest chance south of I-44, but the latest forecast trends are pushing it further away from us, and I personally am not complaining because we're not going to get anything good out of it anyway. And then we're going to start to warm up as we head into the weekend. So we mentioned earlier, some light evening snow is possible. And when I say light, this is it. We're talking a tenth, maybe 2/10 of an inch in some areas, so we're barely a dusting. But there may be some light snow later this evening across parts of the area, but nothing significant. Right now in Joplin, we're up to 29 degrees, feeling like 29. And even though that's cold, it's great though because the wind has calmed down enough that we don't have those wild wind chills where it feels even worse outside than what it actually is. We're at 32, Fort Scott, Iola, Yates Center, 30 in Parsons, 28 Chetopa, Miami, Neosho, Anderson, and 29 in Carthage and Lamar right now. And this is nice to see. I wish this was actually a temperature map because this would be like the 60s and 70s. Unfortunately, it's just telling us that we're anywhere from 5 to almost 15 degrees warmer now than what we were 24 hours ago. And if you think that's good, you ain't seen nothing yet. Let's talk about that forecast. We're up to 35 today for our high. Mostly cloudy skies. Again, this evening could see a few stray flurries, maybe a little bit of light snow. Nothing too crazy. And as we head into tonight, that wintry mix is really looking to stay very far south of us. And honestly, given the situation that they're experiencing across Texas and the parts of southern Oklahoma and central Arkansas, it's probably best it stays south of us. We're going to be cloudy to mostly cloudy tonight, dropping back down to 25. So again, that's about 10 degrees warmer than where we had been. This is what we're talking about. This is 12:30 in the morning. This is an ice storm that is just ongoing down to our south. But you can also see it starts to fall a lot further away from us than it did earlier this morning on the forecast runs that put it really close to I-44. Now it's saying it's going to stay away from us. And it's good that it does. We don't need that kind of winter weather. If we're going to get a little snow, that's fine. But that kind of stuff, we don't need. Anybody remember the ice storm of 2007? We don't need another one of those. They are going to start to warm up. And we're going to warm up pretty decently as we head into the weekend. But we do want to remind you, scan or take a photo or scan that QR code, or if you're old-fashioned like me, go to your favorite app store, download the KOAM Skywatch Weather app. It is a great resource to have. It's like having the entire Skywatch weather team in the palm of your hand wherever you go. Now, let's talk about warm weather. I'm going to kind of hide this here. So we're up to 44 tomorrow, cloudy skies. Not too bad. 41 on Friday, sunny skies. It's a little cooler than tomorrow, but still not bad. Now, for the big reveal, take a look at these temperatures heading into the weekend. 49 on Saturday, 58 Sunday. Could be breezy both days. You know how it is, spring-like weather around here. We've got to have strong winds with it. Up to 61 by Monday. Then we get some evening showers in here, and that knocks our temperatures down to 49 Tuesday. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're still above average. And we got some shower chances. Unfortunately, we are still in winter. We're entering February, and winter is going to come back toward the end of next week as temperatures start to fall below average again, with the possibility of some wintry weather heading into next weekend. But this weekend, perfect opportunity to get outside and enjoy some mild weather, because I know a lot of folks have been cooped up inside. Even if you haven't seen a lot of the wintry weather, it's definitely been too cold to go out and have fun. So this weekend, your opportunity to get out, relax, enjoy before we have another system by the next weekend.
So this weekend's basically shorts weather. No, I'm just
It's almost going to feel, I was saying this morning, it's almost going to feel like pool weather compared to what we've seen here lately. I wouldn't advise getting in the pool, but it's going to feel like it.
All right, well, thank you. Appreciate that, Chris. We take this time to honor today's fourth state hero. Motor machinist Nate Raymond is swimming in the U.S. Navy. The Baxter Springs, Kansas native served in the Philippines from 1944 to 1946. To Raymond Swim, we thank you, our fourth state hero. Today's recipe for raspberry streusel muffins is sure to become a welcome favorite.
I want to give you a heads up that tomorrow is Groundhog Day. So after you get up and make your morning coffee, you're going to want to see if Punxsutawney Phil sees his shadow. Let's hope he doesn't, so we can say goodbye to winter. And while you're waiting, we have a Rise and Shine muffin that'll go perfect with your coffee. We start out by mixing together some melted butter, a bit of milk, an egg, and a splash of vanilla until they're well combined. Now, to that, we add our dry ingredients, which is simply some flour, sugar, baking powder, and a touch of salt. Once the batter is smooth, we gently stir in some fresh raspberries, and we want to be careful not to break them up. And now for the part that turns ordinary muffins into extraordinary muffins. After we spoon the batter into muffin cups, we top these with a mixture we made by combining some flour and brown sugar with a bit of melted butter. And don't be surprised if everyone begins sticking their heads out of their bedroom doors while these are baking. No, they're not looking for their shadow, but wondering what smells so darn good. Of course, it'll be these raspberry streusel muffins. And like always, the recipe's online, which is perfect no matter how many more weeks of winter lie ahead. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we discovered muffins that, beyond a shadow of a doubt, are ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices. Everything's messing up.
A wee bit of light snow possible this evening for some of us. Otherwise, we're going to be cloudy, down to 25. We start a warming trend heading into the weekend, up to 58 by Sunday, 61 Monday with some evening showers. And we'll drop back down, still above normal Tuesday, but down to 49. So enjoy this mild weather. We are well overdue for a little bit of a break.
That's for sure.
All right, what do we have coming up at 5?
Well, at 5, Damar Hamlin is kicking off American Heart Month by teaming up with the American Heart Association to create the 3 for Heart Challenge. Buffalo Bills player posted a video saying CPR saved his life on the field, and he's encouraging others to learn the 3 steps for hands-only CPR. Plus, for the first time in 20-plus years, the Neodesha Fire Department is changing shifts for firefighters. And a local small business is selling more Chiefs and some Eagles merchandise as the Super Bowl gets closer. Yeah, apparently there are some Eagles fans out there. Hope you join us for those stories, a whole lot more. It's coming up on KOAM News at 5.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.